And if 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of subconscious behaviors, automatic habits, emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes that function like a computer program, that's 95% of who we are, where the body has been programmed to become the mind. That's what a habit is. And we're going to begin to change with the 5% of our conscious mind. You can imagine that you can think positively all you want, but if you feel negatively, because you've been feeling that way for the last 30 years, mind and body are in opposition. You could create the most fabulous dream board in the world with all the things you want in your life, but if you feel unworthy, that's mind and body in opposition. The idea then is to recondition the body to a new mind. So here's the old self and here's the new self. And you're going to embark on change. The moment you decide to no longer think a certain way, to act a certain way, or to feel a certain way, you are going to step into this river of change. Because the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. So we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. Out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that we think in one day, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. Now, the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the same emotions. And those emotions drive our very same thoughts. And our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our neurohormones, and even our genetic expression stays exactly the same. So now, there's a principle in neuroscience that says that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you keep thinking the same way, keep making the same choices, keep demonstrating the same behaviors, keep reproducing the same experiences that stamp the same networks of neurons into the same patterns, all for the familiar feeling that you've grown accustomed to called you, then you begin to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature. And that finite signature becomes our identity, almost like a box in the brain. There's no literal box in the brain, but it's the most commonly fired, neurologically wired set of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that's acquired through frequent repetition. So how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. So then, if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, you'd have to change your personality, which means you'd have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You'd have to become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors and even what you say and modify them. And then you'd have to look at those emotions that keep you anchored to the past and decide if those emotions belong in your future. So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. We literally have to become someone else. So the word meditation then means to become familiar with. So if you're sitting in a meditation and you're observing the thoughts that have been going on behind the scenes of your awareness because you've been too distracted by your external environment, and now you're becoming conscious of your unconscious thoughts, and they're becoming familiar to you, now you're in a meditation to know thyself. If you're becoming aware of your propensities and your urges, and the body wanting to get up and do things, and you're making it sit there and stay, and you are telling it it's no longer the mind, that you are the mind, and you're becoming conscious of those unconscious behaviors, and they're becoming familiar to you, well, now you're in a meditation to know thyself. And if you can look at the emotions that bring you to a lower denominator and notice them and not begin to experience them, but to observe them, the very act of observation means that you are no longer the program. You're the consciousness now observing the program, and you're beginning to objectify your subjective self. You are looking at yourself through the eyes of someone else, which means now you're no longer the old self. You're pure consciousness observing the old self. That's the first step in the meditative process. We have to light a match in a dark place and become so aware of how unaware we've been that we don't let any thought, any behavior, any emotion slip by our awareness unchecked. So then, if you're sitting in a meditation and you say, what is compassion? What is a better way to be in my life? How can I turn my life around? How can I feel better about myself? And you begin to think about what thoughts you do want to fire and wire in your brain. You begin to review the behaviors of how you are going to live in this new life. The act of rehearsing them mentally begins to change the brain from living in the past to living in the future. In other words, mental rehearsal is going to cause the brain to look like that experience has already occurred. So now your brain has a new installation of hardware. That's priming the brain for the future.
Hat dir dieses Video gefallen? Gib uns ein Zeichen und lasse einen Daumen nach oben da. Bist du interessiert an weiteren solchen kostenlosen Videos? Dann abonniere unbedingt unseren Kanal und drücke die Benachrichtigungsglocke, denn nur so stellst du sicher, dass du kein weiteres Video verpasst. Danke dir und bis zum nächsten Video.